الحاجة عظيم الصفات السميع السماعة كبير الشان جليل القدر ورفع الذكر مطال الأمر جليل البرهان فخيم الاسم غزير العلم غسيل الحلم كثير الغفران جميل الثناء جزيل العطاء مجيب الدعاء ميم الإحسان سريع الحساب شديد العقاب عليم العذاب. ونشهد أن سيدنا مولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله إلى المبعوث للأسود والأحمر المكتوب بالشر الصدى ورفع الذكر وصلى الله عليه وعلى آله أصحاب الذين هم خلاصة العرب الأرباء وخير الخلق بعد الأنبياء. أما بعد فأيها الناس بعد الله فإن التهدي لا طاعة ومن أطاع الله ورسوله فقد رشد واهتدى وإياكم والبدع فإن البدع تهدي إلى المعصية ومن يعص الله ورسوله فقد ضل وغوى. وعليكم بالصدق فإن الصدق ينجي الكذب يهلك وعليكم بالإحسان فإن الله يحب المحسنين ولا تخلقوا ألا وإن نفسا لن تموت حتى تستكمل رزقه فاتقوا الله واجملوا في التلبية وتوكلوا إليه فإن الله يحب المتوكلين وعدوه فإن ربكم مجيب الداعين واستغفروه يمددكم بأموال بنين. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. قال ربكم ادعوني أستجب. بارك الله لنا ولكم في القرآن العظيم ونفعنا وإياكم بالآيات والذكر الحكيم. أستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين واستغفروه فإنه هو الغفور الرحيم. قال الله تبارك وتعالى قل لن يصيبنا إلا ما كتب الله لنا وهو مولانا. النبي الكريم والعاقبة للمتقين ونحن على ذلك لمن الشاهدين والشاكرين والحمد لله رب العالمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala azza wa jalla shanahu have given us another opportunity in this life that we have come together for this Jum'atul in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, O beloved Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, Qul, say O Muhammad, never shall ever happen to us except, nothing shall ever happen to us except what Allah has ordained for us. He is our Mawla, our Lord, our helper. Put their trust. So, وَعَلَى اللَّهِ فَلْيَتَوَكَّلِ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. On Allah we put all our trust. There are about 101 hadiths in the book of hadiths about epidemic, endemic, and infectious disease. In the time of Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, you may have already heard, happened by a bacteria from Pastorella. This bacteria caused infection through the rats. And it happened in the time, in Makkah, Medina, there was never been a plague. But there was a time where Muslims had to stop the worshipping and the prayer and the use of Kaaba, certain time of Fatimi. They were the group who stopped and they killed the Hujjaj in the Haram. 2 years there was no Hajj. They stole the Hajr Aswad. They took the Kaaba, the black rock, with them into the Bahrain, and then later on was retrieved and paid ransom by the Turk government to be brought back. So there are times which has said, Inna Allah Azza wa Jal yaqul, Ana ma'a abdi, hayna yazkuruni. Oh, wa fi lafz, Inna inda zanni abdi bi, wa ana ma haysu yazkuruni. Fa in dhakarni fi nafsi, dhakartu fi nafsi. More than 101 hadiths in the book of hadiths about the famine, and how to be done and what to be done. As 1400 years ago, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam taught his people and Ummah how to treat the quarantining and infectious disease and when epidemic happens. Hadith you may have heard recently from a lot of people, and Abu Ubaidah bin al-Jarrah was the one in this army in Syria. Syria, there was plague started. When it started, Nabi Umar radiallahu ta'ala, he was in his Khilafah, he went with his companions. When he went there, they were disease going on, or epidemic there. So Abu Ubaidah bin al-Jarrah radiallahu anhu, he actually taunted Umar. He said, are you afraid of what Allah has commanded? He said, I am coming from the command of Allah to the command of Allah. Because Sahaba and Ansar, there were many Sahaba. Because you have come for the purpose and Allah Ta'ala will take care of you. The other were saying, no, in the hadith of Rasulullah is where there is an epidemic going on, you do not enter the territory and you do not leave the territory. The blessing of this hadith is, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was asked, is plague or infectious disease or epidemics, plagues or the epidemics are the punishment of Allah to the people before us. But for the Muslim, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had made epidemic as a blessing. They say, Ya Rasulullah, how could it be blessing? He said, if a person dies in the plague, he gets the reward equal to his. People who survive also and did not die get the ajr of the shaheed, means the reward of the martyr without being dead. So your person may be walking with survive this epidemic and look at this whole world is in a lockdown. So wherever we are, we could see this is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made a blessing with this. Most people who are dying are elderly. 80 and above are the most vulnerable. They are the most fatalities. 60 and above, the most complicated. Families are dying. Whole group of people are dying. The epidemic is happening. Now the Muslims, because they're living 3 generations in a household. If one person brought the disease and they're not very mindful. So we need to treat every one of us as infected and infectious. We including ourselves. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, what? Wash your hand before you eat. Now they're saying, you do not spread the disease to others. At the time of Maimonides, and the Qanun al-Tib, the book which was written by Razi, he used to take a ghusl, he used to take a bath before he would see another patient. And then he will make wudu before he would see another patient. Spain, who learned from Muslim, and he started this thing, and Westerners learned about the infectious disease prevention by making wash between patients. So this is, infections are with us. For billions of years, viruses, how they work, I'm sure you all have learned about it, which we know we were taught in our RNA or DNA. The RNA virus is a virus which breaks itself and replaces in 3 forms. So usually every 3 years we have to change the flu vaccine because it mutates. It has a very technical place where it breaks and then attacks. There are 3 forms it does. And what it does is it infects, it turns the whole cell as a source of survival for itself. And this is the typical technology which will be used by human, which is already being used by human to give the CRISPR technology. CRISPR technology is going to make people live forever. They can go and get an injection and not be older than 30 years old. This is, people will not die. They will die for other reasons, not just they will die of aging. So Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam had taught, and Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam has taught his companion that we should be observant, and shaking hand was not the Islamic tradition. It was established thousands of years when the Turks were ruling. They would put the hand to the heart, showing their strength. And Sahaba used to do that. They would not shake hand. Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam took bay'ah with shaking hand. It's nothing wrong with shaking hand, but it doesn't mean that we should shake hand all the time as it become all the part. And sometimes it is shaking hand with the sisters. Anyway, now everybody is now holding hand together. You know, before we used to say, don't shake hand with the women. And they say, you are Orthodox and so and so. We were told to distance from the women, to have a 3 feet distance. Now they're saying have a 10 feet distance. Anybody, it's become a culture. Culture become a part of living, and we all become used to it. So now they have found that one of the old drugs, this is again in the market, not being established, but it is being practiced because the double-blind control studies are not done. They are still saying that if you use hydroxychloroquine, promising result. Then there is a drug which is invented for HIV. Those invented drugs, there are 3 types of drugs, which in America is known as Travida. Travida is a drug which blocks the virus from 3 places of multiplication. Now they're using that one. And apparently people are getting replan. And what we are saying that respiratory illness, basically, which we as a medical professional know, it is called adult respiratory distress syndrome, ARDS. There is a pneumonia which happens from bacteria, which affect only one part of the lung. Virus, because it's every cell affected, and mix a picture. So virus is using every cell to recruit. And when the inflammation happens, body produces inflammatory markers. And those inflammatory markers basically are soldiers who are in a battlefield. When they die out, the white blood cells, that infection, or those who get affected, that they cannot breathe. And that's why they need ventilators. This you may have heard Thomas talking about, we might run out of ventilators. And then what they're happening in Italy is because they are not choosing who to save, because 80 years and above are definitely not going to make it. The diabetes is one of the risk factors. Smoking is one of the risk factors. High blood pressure is one of the risk factors. The people with high blood pressure have had more fatalities than anybody else. So those three things are diseases of lifestyle. They are not the disease of person. We eat salty food, we eat too much food. If we change the diet, we bring down the food and start walking, exercising, and stop smoking, we already have cut down a significant factor of risk factor for fatalities in people. So this is something to be known. Now, we have to be respectful distance with each other. Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam said that there are 7 types of martyrs. Those who died of 7 causes are treated by Allah as shaheed. And those are, and one hadith says, there are 7 types of shuhada, or the death are continued by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is treated as a shaheed or a martyr. The one who is drowned in the water is a martyr. The one who died of plague, means any epidemic. Plague was the only thing known at that time. They did not know viruses, but any air means it's in the air. Droplet is when I cough. If I have an infection, it will be in the air, suspended for several times. It is about 8 or 10 hours in this particular case, at least 10 to 14 minutes. When we cough, it goes 14 feet in the air, and then it drives down on the floor. The white blood cells, there is a nutrition in there, so its virus can sustain themselves. But virus cannot sustain without a host. They were saying it is spread by, I personally think it is not animal thing. Why? You haven't heard any bats dead or any rats or dogs or a snake found. I'm not supposed to say, but I think it's a man-made virus. It's a biological warfare. Russia have no case. Eastern Europe have no cases. South Africa has no cases. South America has no cases. Entire Africa does not have cases. Only are found in China and jump 2 countries later. Need to know, and Russia is very quiet right now, right? And our president is very intelligent. He starts calling Chinese. He has a Chinese virus. May Allah give him a hikmah and wisdom. Then Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, whoever died in drowning in ocean or water is shaheed. The one who died of lung. So the lung disease person, and this is killed with the lung illness. He is also shaheed. And the one who dies of internal complaints, means who died of internal body diseases, such as heart or lung or gut or gallbladder or liver or other organs of the body. And then he said, the one who died of burn. Anybody who got burned is shaheed. The one who died of a collapsing of a building, people die in earthquake. Recently we heard in Karachi, whole building collapsed. 30, 40 people just died in the 4th floor buried. And it is the crime of the foundation. This is the government fault, but what they do, they blame the contractor. But the contractor cannot build till they issue the permit. And the permit issuing people are taking rishwa. They are the one who is taking bribe and allowing people to do the crime. This is what the problem is. And then we say, oh, Muslim countries are suffering. Who died? A woman who died during her pregnancy. Whether during the pregnancy or the childbirth, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam did not specify. A pregnancy-related death of a woman is a shaheed. She is going to be given. So if we survive this epidemic, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, if you survive an epidemic, you are a shaheed. But we should have an intelligence enough and wisdom enough to use. As you know, we know the hadith of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, as Quran says, وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الْخَمْرِ وَالْمَيْسِرِ قُلْ فِيهِ. In this ayah, it says the benefit is less, the profit is more. The sin is more than the benefit. So the benefit is, it has been found that all kind of disinfectant, alcohol is one of the best disinfectant. So some of our ulama who do not understand, they say using alcohol as a disinfectant is not safe. These guys have to break into the reality. They don't understand. It is consumption is not allowed. There is a usable item and consumable item. The consumption of alcohol is haram. Because it is not brewed, it's a chemical hydroxyl compound attached to the chemistry. So nobody can drink 100% alcohol, they will never survive to have a breath. So 70% alcohol, I'm not saying that everybody go and start drinking whiskey and use the whiskey. Whiskey is a 70 proof. No. Lysol spray is a disinfectant, but get the wipes and clean everything and glove yourself. And everybody outside everybody's infected. So gloves and mask and a distance. This is what is required to prevent from other people getting this gathering, like people go to rub each other's shoulder to make the salam. It was never a proven thing. They took a hadith because Hanafi, they did not insist on that. Today, these people are saying, okay, now you have to stand 4 feet away from each other. That also doesn't make a jama'at. We should understand, Jamaat is with the Imam front and the Musalli. We are safe, alhamdulillah. This we should do in the home too, when we pray with our family, because I might bring it to my family. So anybody going outside, the public knob doors should not be touched. Use the hand to move it. There are wisdom to not to contaminate this. I'm sure not many one of you are doing here. When you have to come home from the hospital or the place where you see people, take your clothes in the mudroom, then change it, wash your hands, then go into with the family, so that they will be safe. So this is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have given us and commanded us to do. The strike of Allah is silent. When Allah strikes, it's silent. But the people, when Muslims were loading planes and spending millions and thousands of dollars to go every day to the Umrah, there was no place to stand, while the same government was. The Yemenis have died of starvation. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not need anybody's Umrah or Hajj or Hajj Aswad. When Muslims were killed in Kashmir and locked down for 6 months, the whole Indian Muslims were supportive of the government of Hindu. And what happened? In daylight, I'm sorry, I don't mean to offend any Indian brother or Muslim. We are all part of the same day. When in the Burma Muslims were being killed and being butchered, everybody was watching. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not need this salah or these ibadah. We are a Muslim ummah to be like a body. Today 700 of Israelis are infected and they are locking down themselves. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala teaches us a lesson. But there is also, وَمَا يَذَّكَّرُ إِلَّا أُولُو الْأَلْبَابِ. We should make tawbah and istighfar with the individual and ijma'. To the God and ask for whatever they believe. We have to ask for tawbah 70 times in a day and istighfar 70 times a day. So we should know our action and our doing and make sure when we lock down ourselves, we should not forget our fellow. If a person is a healthcare worker, there's a Plaquenil is a drug, hydroxychloroquine, which is used for malaria. If a person is in a public contact or a high risk